All right. When you are not speaking, if you remember, please mute your microphones because sometimes we do get feedback. But remember to unmute when you want to be part of the conversation because we definitely want to hear you. And that includes right now because we're going to do introductions. So I'm just going to call out the names as I see them. And if you would just introduce yourself, let us know your name, your club, and your role, especially next year, starting July 1st. Because a lot of times when you're registering for these classes in June, it's telling us what your role is now. We're also interested in what your role is going to be starting July 1st. So let's see. Let's start with Tammy.
Good morning. So my name is Tammy Mandel, and I'm with the Carlsbad Club. And my role currently is a RILA chair, but I'm going to be a secretary co-chair starting in July.
Awesome. Thank you. And we also have from Carlsbad, Linda. Linda, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Good morning. This is Linda Dodd, and I will be on July 1st the incoming president. I'm currently the vice president of the Carlsbad Club.
So your president's year starts when?
2017.
Okay. So you'll be president next July.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so my title in 6 is incoming president.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Ronnie.
Yes, I'm with the Las Cruces Rio Grande Club, and I will be the president starting July 1.
Of this year?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Thank you. And Betty.
Betty Young with Walker Rotary, and I will be the membership chairman starting July of this year, president in July of 2018.
Betty, your mic is soft. I remember we had this last time. If you can, go ahead and speak.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is that better?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is Betty Young with the Walker Rotary Club. I'm going to be the membership chairman starting July of this year and president in 2018.
Awesome. Thank you. Karen.
Yes, I will be president in the 2017-18 year, and currently I'm sergeant of arms.
Oh, so you can keep us in check. We need that. Thank you. And Donna.
Donna Pedacci from Albuquerque Del Norte. I'm currently the program chair, president nominee, and the RFE chair for the district.
Outstanding. And I did not know you were president nominee. Congratulations on that, too.
Thank you.
And for our friends in Clovis, Jim and Gail.
Good morning, everybody. I am Gail Tarson. We are from the Clovis Rotary Club. I am the current president, soon to be past president, and I will also be working on the subcommittee with Jim Jennings as on the membership chair.
And I am Jim Jennings. I presently am the chairman of the membership here, and Gail is going to be my right-hand person.
Awesome. As she is now, in fact.
Yes, she is.
Literally.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're going to talk about club administration, and for much of this hour, I'm going to be sharing some documents. And while I'm sharing documents, I may not see all of you, but I will see you if you speak. If you happen to have any questions, because it's a fairly small group, but I really like the size, you just go ahead and ask the question. Make sure that you unmute your phone or your microphone, but no reason to wait until the end for questions. These are intended to be interactive sessions, and it's not just questions that you may have, but you also may be sharing things that have worked well in your club as it relates to club administration. So this is an opportunity to share what's working and ask about things that may not be working. So let me start by just, and you're going to get a survey when we're done. It'll probably be tomorrow to let us know how the assembly went and how the technology is working, because this is still relatively new. So we do need your feedback on all of these assemblies. So you'll get that tomorrow. Okay. So 2 years ago, I was club president, and I was still fairly new to Rotary. so I didn't have all the clarity about the different committees. But my year as president-elect, when I was learning about all the different Rotary functions, I came to realize that I was going to rely quite a bit on club administration, perhaps as much so as relying on the secretary. And I think in some cases, club administration feels like logistics and operations. It's kind of like the inner workings of the club. It doesn't get a lot of notoriety. And yet, from the member experience, club administration is so important because it pretty much exists to serve the membership. A lot of the other groups that we have in Rotary are serving others. Club administration is really making sure that things are tight. And if they're not tight, or if we don't have a good program, or if we don't have fellowship activities, we will often lose member engagement. And as you know, Rotary is very involved in making sure that members are engaged. So a really good club administration committee, amongst other things, of course, but a good club administration committee is really critical to engaging members. So from my experience, this group should not be overlooked. They are absolutely critical, don't get a lot of notoriety, and I think they should get more. There is a manual that I'm going to kind of walk through it with you. If you haven't seen the Club Administration Committee manual, it's fantastic. I'm really pleased. They just made some changes to it this year. They revise the manuals every 3 years, but we're going to kind of walk through that manual, kind of look at the different aspects of what the committee does. In some cases, for your particular clubs, you may not do it exactly the way the manual kind of recommends or suggests, and it actually may work better than the way the committee or the manual is guiding us to do it. But that's where we want to share some ideas and best practices. So let me bring this up. Okay, do you all see a screen that says Lead Your Club Administration Committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to kind of scroll through this, and at one point I'm going to shift over to another document you can get on Rotary.org called Be a Vibrant Club. And we used the Be a Vibrant Club document. It's pretty short. It's about 5 or 6 pages if you haven't seen it, but we used the Be a Vibrant Club manual at PETS training. But as it turns out, there's quite a bit in that little document about club administration, so we're going to look at that as well. So while we're in this mode, as I said, I'm not seeing everyone. So this is, you definitely want to be interjecting with questions or ideas or things you want to share as we go through this. And again, if you have not seen this document, you can download it from Rotary.org. And if you're going to be either the club secretary or the club president or the president-elect or in club administration, I highly recommend you get this. Notice that it's 2016 through 19. So as I said, they change these every 3 or 4 years. So this is it for the year. It's got some new items to it. So if you have the older version, make sure you download the most updated version, not just for this manual, but for any of the manuals on Rotary.org. So it just starts out with some introductions. It does have one of the first pages is if you're the club administration committee chair. Are any of you, when you introduce yourself, I don't think any of you are going to be a club administration committee chair. Is that correct?
Jeffrey, this is Gail. I am going to be our committee administration chair.
You are? Okay, thank you. So there's some unique things in this manual for committee chairs, but a lot of it is common sense, like make sure you're sharing what the committee is doing with the rest of the board and the club and kind of serve as that liaison. So there's some information in here specifically about the committee chair, and there's also a separate manual just for the committee chairs, but it's basically nothing more than this first page. So I would also download that. But there's a few things to take a look at here that's relevant, I think, to all of us. And I really like how Rotary lays this out. Attend the assemblies, that's this. I think that next year there's going to be a combination of e-assemblies and also some hands-on assemblies. District Governor-elect Doreen wants to do some hands-on assemblies, which I think will be great. But as we know, there's clubs that are not, it's not easy for them to travel. So we'll still be doing some of these online as well. Creating subcommittees is needed. So club administration is one of those committees that almost requires either subcommittees if you're fairly large, or at least individual people on the committee who have different roles and responsibilities, because there's so much within club administration. Managing the budget, setting goals is really important. And if your club has already set its goals for the year, one of them may be very aligned with the role of the club administration committee. And there's a few opportunities for that. Specifically for the committee, and this is where we're going to get into the meat of the session today. Plan the meetings, assemblies, and other activities. So, and Gail, you're president right now, correct? Okay. So, oftentimes the president likes to do a lot of this planning. So it kind of depends on the dynamic and the personality of the club president. But if the club president is not a planner, but someone who kind of is a big picture person, so on, then it's really important that the club administration committee do the planning that the president does not do. So as it relates to the program for the meetings, the location, the logistics of the meetings, the assemblies, all the stuff that goes on within the club administration committee has a major role. The president can be part of that, but you don't want to assume that your president is going to take this on. So you want to kind of make sure that you've got that organized. Member communications is huge. So a lot of the internal communications between the members, whether that's the bulletins that are sent out, whether that's the weekly, here's who the speaker is going to be at our meeting, or we've got a social coming up, or we've got a community project coming up next month, or we're going to have a joint meeting with the Rotaract Club. All of the communications, again, the club administration committee typically coordinates all of that. The club president may actually do the communications, but it really depends on how comfortable the president is in doing those communications. Or it may be the secretary. But as a committee, it really does fall under club administration as kind of that internal logistics piece. Facilitating connections among the club members. So it used to be, before this version of the manual was written, that it explicitly mentioned that the club service, avenue of service, remember there's 5 avenues of service within Rotary, that club service is kind of part and parcel with this committee. And that really is true here with facilitating connections among the club members. That's the fellowship. That's the opportunities to get together, not just during the meetings, but outside the meetings with our family and our friends, and to kind of have that be a bond for all of us. So that also falls within the jurisdiction of the club administration committee. Taking attendance, there's another one where oftentimes it's going to be the secretary that takes attendance. And just for myself, I think it's smart to have the secretary be a member of this committee if the club has a committee, because there's a lot of overlap between what the secretary as an individual does and what falls within the purview of this committee. So I would say the secretary takes attendance. Club administration committee is a good group to make sure that it is being taken, that the reports are being sent to the district every month, that the makeups are being taken. Again, all of that logistical stuff. It's good to have this group kind of be responsible for that. And then the last one, and again, there's overlap here too, maintaining the electronic media, the social media, the club website. That's kind of in line with the communications, although the social media is also external, as is the website. If your club has a public relations committee or person, there's going to be some overlap here. And I found that when I was president a couple of years ago, the administration committee focused on things like, we need to let everyone know who the speaker is going to be at next week's meeting. And the club administration committee coordinated who the speakers were and what the agenda was going to be. The way of getting the message out, whether we were going to use the bulletin or whether we're going to use the website or whether we're going to use our Facebook page, public relations had a lot to say in kind of the way we got the message out. But the message about things going on within the club tended to fit within this group. Does that seem, do you see the connection there? So you're going to find, if you follow the logic, that there's some overlap. And I like to think of these committees, in a well-functioning club as being interdependent. They're going to work together. What you don't want is for them to be independent, right? So you want them to kind of work together where there's some overlap. So this is very high level, but at this point, any questions or experiences from your own club to maybe help validate some of these committee roles?
Jeff?
Yes.
Our secretary does number 2 and number 3 and number 4, sending the communications out, etc. And then we do have a PR person. In fact, we have a full committee this year of about 4 members. So I'm looking forward to better social media. So really it comes down in our club that they do the planning of the meetings, assemblies, and other activities. And that's worked pretty well for us.
So if I understand what you're saying, and who is this who is speaking?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Ronnie from Las Cruces, Rio Grande.
Got it, Ronnie. Thank you. So am I then to assume that there is not an official club administration committee in your club?
There is an official. We do have one.
So what does it do?
It basically does the speakers, the assemblies, and the outside social activities.
Okay, perfect. So, as I said, these manuals are kind of like guidance, but it's not like we're beholden to follow them exactly as they are written. And it really depends on, I would say, the size of the club, also the skill sets of the various people who are doing these things. As long as it's a concerted activity, as long as it's all being coordinated, and especially in your case, Ronnie, if the way it works now works, that's great. If you find after a couple of years that it's not working as well, adjusting the various roles based on this committee structure may be worth considering. But as long as it's working well, then no reason to change it. Okay. Any other either questions or things that are going on within your club that either fit this model or maybe a little bit different in terms of the logistics and how the club is managed? I used to refer to this group as kind of like the COO for the club. So if the president was the CEO and didn't get into the daily operations, you wanted to have some group that included the secretary that was making sure that everything was working smoothly at an operational level. So any other thoughts, comments, questions about the high level stuff? Okay, I'm gonna keep scrolling. This page is, I think, common to every club manual, and I really like it. It's almost like an Escher painting if you want to try to follow the logic, but really what it's trying. Here's Donna right here, right? Rotary Friendship Exchange.
Right.
It kind of shows the connectivity between all the various aspects of what we do at our clubs. So I really like a graphic like this. And if you're club administration, you look for things like connect in person. So how do we connect in person? You know, why are meetings so important? Why don't we just, I mean, I know Rotary is trying to transition us away from putting so much emphasis on the meetings, but meetings are important because we're getting information. It's a great opportunity to have fellowship with our fellow club members and our visitors. So connect in person, that's clearly within the purview of club service and the club administration committee. Connecting online, so we talked about the social media and the website and getting information out, whether it's to the membership or to others. So there's pieces of every committee and every function in this graphic. So it's kind of nice to kind of look at it and kind of see if it makes sense and how we can better use something like this to put all the pieces together. Okay. Then there's an introduction, no big deal here. And then we get to, what are you waiting for? Be a vibrant club. So I'm going to pull up this vibrant club document for a couple of minutes and walk through this. Have any of you used this before? Okay. Silence means no.
Correct.
It is, I think it's one of the best. First of all, I like it because it's short and it's got a lot of pictures. So for someone that reads comic books, which I still do, short with pictures is about my level. But it also has, it's a very high level document that has a lot of really good ideas as you're thinking about kind of making your club a better club. So I'm going to kind of scroll through this. You can all see the Be a Vibrant Club now?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. What you'll notice in here as we go through this is, as I said, this is something that we give to the club presidents, kind of a high level view. But when we go through this, you'll see how much that's in here is within this notion of a club administration committee or the club secretary, these kind of critical roles and how critical that is. See, like this page I love. It's got one paragraph with a big font. Love that. More pictures. But then we get to the meat, which is here. Decide where your club wants to be in 3 to 5 years. So it has a series of these kind of high-level suggestions. And look at a few of these. Develop a month of club meetings to develop a strategic plan. Well, if you're the club president or the incoming president and you want to have certain meetings dedicated to developing a strategic plan, that club administration committee may be the group that you turn to say, help us work on the logistics of setting up those specific club meetings for strategic planning, because they're going to have a very unique agenda. We want to make sure that all the club members can be there or whoever's going to be there. So even this first bullet could very well involve club administration committee. The second bullet, hold a club meeting in a new location. You know, so if you've been in the same location for a number of years and it's getting stale or something, part of the purview of a group like the club administration committee is to look for different space. Maybe the space we're using is too small, we've been growing and we need to find additional space, or we need to find maybe a different meeting time. So the whole idea of changing things about the meetings will often fall within the purview of the club administration committee. When you think about member engagement, so we talked about that when we first started. If, and again, I'd be interested in your own experiences, either not that good experience or good experience, even if you're visiting other clubs. The meeting is so important. If the program is not a good program, speakers are not really that good, they're not engaging, the members are not going to be as excited, they're not going to be as motivated, whether it's in the morning or at lunch, to take the time to come to a meeting where it's not that engaging a meeting. So an effective club administration committee definitely has a role in engaging the membership. Does that make sense to everyone? Does anyone have any examples? I know some of you are in very fun clubs, and that's not just because you've got a fun president, but because everything about the club is fun. The meetings are fun. The social activities are fun. The projects are fun. So any comments or thoughts on that?
This is Donna Pedacci from Del Norte,
Yep.
and I've been the program chair for the last 2 months, the last 2 years, excuse me. Because of our size, our administration is handled a little differently than this format, but the programs, our attendance has been 85 to 90% for the last couple of years. In the past, we had almost exclusively nonprofit organizations coming in to talk to the club, and the club members, everybody's involved in a various number of nonprofits. They know about them, and it gets old.
Yep.
So we changed our strategy, and we've been having really educational speakers. People are talking about government, they're talking about business, they're talking about international issues, and it has made a huge difference.
That's yeah.
I would really suggest people think about that because we do have a number of clubs that really focus in on nonprofits the way we used to. And that's wonderful. We do one a month, one nonprofit a month. And that's all.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I've gone to some of your meetings, Donna, and the programs are fantastic. And, you think it's a 1 hour meeting. So there's other things going on other than the speaker, but the speaker's a huge part of it. And if they've got an interesting message and not necessarily one that we've heard a lot before, people are really going to be interested in listening to that. And while they're there, they've got all the fellowship and all the other club activities, but a great program is so critical. So
yeah, our program speaker only has 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's only a piece of the time, but we really try to educate our members about something new.
Right. Any other thoughts, inputs, good, bad, about?
Jeffrey, there is
Yes.
something I'd like to share for the Clovis Rotary Club. Something that we've started in the past month is doing every week. We are basically profiling a Rotarian, one of our Rotarians, and we're calling it the Who Am I project. And it's our way of getting to know each other on a more personal level. You get new members and everybody assumes everybody knows everything about everybody, and it's not the case. So we've been doing it's a Who Am I questionnaire, asking questions about this individual's life, growing up, hobbies, wishes, hopes, dreams, things like that. And then through and it takes 5 minutes? Roughly not even 5 minutes to go through it. It includes pictures and information, and it's all about trying to guess who it is. And I'm getting the impression that people are really enjoying that. And Jim is one of the ones that first one we did. Jim, what did you think?
I thought it was very helpful. Get to know the club members much better that way. Know more of their history if they want to indulge in it. No, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, the feedback that I've received is how much fun people are having and the interactive. But I think that's an important key in getting to know your Rotarians, because it seems like we just come in, we sit at our same tables with our same people, we eat, and we're gone.
Yep.
So that's been fun.
I brought this back up because it fits this connect in person notion. We connect with people when we understand them, when we can relate to them, when we understand their story, when we get to know them. And so I totally agree. I will just say in my club, we do it a little bit differently. When it comes to Jeff in my club, the question isn't who am I? It's why am I? I'm always asked, why are you? And that's just how I am with my club. Just kidding.
Yeah.
I do have a question, Gail. How many people do you have in your club? Is it a big club?
65 members. But I will say that probably only about 40 to 45 show up typically every week.
Okay. I like the idea of profiling the members. I never thought about doing that because we do have some people that I don't even know who they are and why they are. Thank you for sharing that. That gives me some exciting news to do.
And especially with, and it's not just with the people that have been in the club for a while, but like the new members, to really get to know them, you know, because we all know that the statistics suggest that 50% of people that leave Rotary leave within the first 3 years.
Oh,
And part of that, I think, is because they were never assimilated into the club. The club didn't know them. They didn't know the membership. They weren't given the opportunity. So the idea of getting to know the membership is great. And I would say especially and including the new members. So great points.
This is Donna again, and we do that every other week. We have a member stand up for 5 minutes and talk about how they got to where they are today, and the things we learn about people we thought we knew are extraordinary.
That's great. The other point on this, and again, there's a lot of overlap here, but another reason why it's really good to know the members is because when we think back to classifications and our vocations and our skills, part of getting to know them is, oh, I didn't realize that this person was a really great writer. That's going to be great when we write our grant for next year, you know? So a lot of times you find out things about people that you can then utilize that talent and skill and knowledge as part of the club, whether, you know, in whatever role. So it's another great reason to get to know everyone. Okay. Set annual goals and enter them into Rotary Club Central. That's really true for everyone. But I like this third one. Have a goal check-in on your meeting agenda once a month to update members. This is almost like the notion of the assembly. You know, the club would like to know how things are going. And that actually helps with engagement. And if things are not going well, then it's a great idea to ask for their advice. You know, how can we do certain things better? But the idea of having progress, if you will, be a topic for meetings. So maybe once a month or once a quarter, the president or whoever gets up and says, here's how we're doing with our fundraising for the year. Here's our goal. It's kind of like the United Way thermometer when you drive into the community and you know what their goal is, you know what the progress is. To have that be part of some meeting agenda, whether it's monthly, quarterly, is a great opportunity to get the club engaged, share how we're doing, get some ideas. So that could also fall within the purview of this particular group, because that would be a very specific type of agenda item, right? And it's not something you would necessarily do every week, but that would be something that the club would work out. Do any of your clubs do things like that? The periodic progress meetings for the club?
Not yet.
You know, Jeffrey, the only way we really do it is as projects are coming up, we kind of start talking about it ahead of time, but I don't feel like we've really done any updates on here's how we're progressing or how we're achieving.
Okay. But it is something to think about, you know, and obviously membership is another one the club would be interested in. How are we doing with our membership goals and things like that? So that could also fall within the purview of club administration. The club assemblies. So I'm really interested in, from your experience, how your club does assemblies, if they're part of the regular meetings, how effective they are, how often do you do them? So give me some of your personal observations about having club assemblies. How are they working for you and your club?
This is Donna again. We do them once a quarter, and there's usually a very brief piece that is an update on some aspect of the club or our foundation, and then there's usually a question that goes out to each table, and the table discusses some issue, and it's a wonderful way for fellowship as well as discussing an issue.
So Donna, when you have those meetings, you don't have a speaker, because the 20 minutes that the speaker would have gotten is part of the work that the club is doing at their tables.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And we also shorten the normal business portion of the meeting so that there is more time, more than the 20 minutes
Right.
for the assembly.
So one aha moment that I just heard is that when you're thinking about agendas and programs, they're typically informational. But when you're holding a club assembly meeting, it's a working meeting, or it's more of a working meeting. Things are actually getting accomplished that's going to help the club. So the whole notion of the dynamic of the meeting and getting people to get things accomplished is a very different notion of a meeting than the informational meetings we often have. So other experiences about having the club assemblies for meetings and how they work.
Nope.
I'll just say that, and I've been to other clubs when they've had assembly meetings when I was assistant governor, and it's such a different type of meeting that the build up to it is different. We really need you to be here because we're going to be working on 3 or 4 things that are critical to our success this year or next year. So I know, you've kind of been hit and miss for the last month or so. We really need all hands on deck if we're going to have a successful assembly. And if we're going to be sharing all this information, it's really the best way to share, because I don't need to wait for the club bulletin to come out or something put on the website. I want to be there to hear all of this and to be part of it. So it's really, again, going back to member engagement, having these kind of working meetings, these assemblies are really important. And I can't emphasize that enough. Any other thoughts, comments on having assemblies be part of your meeting structure? And quarterly, monthly, those kind of things, I think they're fine. You don't want to be doing this every week. But when it's appropriate, when you have results to share, when you've got issues you want to try to resolve, club assemblies are wonderful. And for a small club where it may be difficult to, let's say, get speakers for whatever reason, there may be a few more assemblies, a few more working meetings. But I've found they've been very effective. So, any other thoughts on this?
Nope.
Go ahead.
I didn't have anything else.
Okay. Notice to hold club assemblies regularly to keep members engaged and knowledgeable. And I really like that. There's nothing worse than ignorant members. Oh, I didn't know we were doing that. Or I didn't have a say in that. So keeping them engaged and knowledgeable is critical. So, okay. Communicate open. Did you notice how much of this is tied to club administration? It wasn't, I didn't realize that until I was preparing for this morning, but quite a bit is. Communicate openly in the club. So again, if you go back to the high level, what's a club administration committee do? A lot of it's communicate within the club. The bulletins and the announcements and the sharing amongst the club members. Frequently updating the website and social media. Share information with members and check in regularly to see how they're feeling. Now, I did our club membership survey a couple of years ago, and I refrained from asking a lot of questions about how are you feeling. We don't have a lot of feelers in our club. We have a lot of thinkers. So I had to frame the question in terms of what would you like to see differently, things like that. But if I brought up feelings, I would probably get the rolling eyes and things like that. But you do want to check in. So a lot of this, communicate openly with the club, could also fit within the purview of what the club administration committee does. Again, they're not doing it in a vacuum, but they kind of have this overall role of how do we do this communication and what are we communicating? What are we sharing?
We do a survey at least once a year of our members on a variety of subjects depending on what's going on at the time. And we are often very surprised at the responses. So it's, I think, a very healthy thing to do.
Do you ask feeling questions?
No, we don't.
I actually did ask a feeling question when I was, it was my first year in the club, and there was just this aghast look. And I said, okay, no more feeling questions.
Well, we do sometimes ask, in terms of their comfort level, particularly for
Right.
new people coming in, the socialization, do they feel that it's enough, too much?
Yep.
That kind of thing. We do try to get at some of those maybe feeling
Yeah,
issues, but we do try to get a little in.
exactly.
They
Yeah.
have to enjoy it, and that's usually one of the things. Do you enjoy coming to the club?
Yep. And what would make it more enjoyable?
Yes.
Okay, so again, a lot of this, if you think about the club administration committee, and even if your clubs do it a little bit differently, when you just think about making sure that there's people responsible for this is how do we best serve the membership? You know, they always say in business, if you've got engaged employees, you'll have engaged customers. That's really kind of this. If the members are locked and loaded, if they're excited, if they're motivated, if they're engaged, then everything that the membership does for the community and all these other things are going to be much better. If the membership is not engaged, it's just going to be much, much harder to accomplish anything else. Does that make sense?
Sure.
To me, this is the group that focuses on how are the members doing in every aspect of their Rotary life.
I would ask a question of the others. We require new members to be on at least one committee. That's something they understand walking in the door. And we have some new members who are on several committees at their choice, but we find it makes for a much, much more engaged and long-term commitment to Rotary.
This is Neil, and I have a question for the group. One of them is the questionnaire that you guys sent out, or the whatever you called it, but it's basically the questionnaire. Would you guys be willing to share that? I would be interested to see what we could do to implement something like that in our club.
Are you talking about the survey that I mentioned?
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Yes. Could you tell me who you are again?
Yes, this is Gail Tarson. And Jeffrey, are we sharing emails after this, or can we do it right now? Or
The easiest way to do it is I'm going to be sending out the club survey, or sorry, not the survey on how this went tomorrow. And I'm going to send it to all of you. So if you do a reply all, then you can reply all with anything that you want to share amongst yourselves.
Okay, that's perfect.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you. By the way, you know, I mentioned early on that for people who are not part of this, they can always watch this on YouTube, which is okay.
Yeah.
But when you're interacting, there's even a better experience, which is why we're glad that not everyone is saying, well, I'll just wait for the YouTube video and sit and watch it leisurely. There's something about the actual opportunity to share and interact that you don't get when you're watching a podcast or a video.
Jeffrey, I agree. And you answered my other question. So we can actually find these on YouTube, and we would search Rotary Club Administration as an example?
Right. Well, District 5520 is now a YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually, you can get to it through the district website now. There's a link directly to it. And then within the district YouTube channel are each one of these assemblies recorded.
Okay, very good.
As well as Rio Grande Academy sessions and things like that.
Yeah, because there's going to be some of these that we can't attend, so it's good to know that. But I agree with you. The interaction, I think, is very valuable.
Great. Okay, looking at the clock, we've got about 15 minutes left. The other parts of this Be a Vibrant Club are really more about leadership, which is really more for the club president, succession planning, bylaws, and things like that. But I brought this up because I just wanted to kind of reinforce how much of what it takes to be a vibrant club falls within the purview of something like a club administration committee or whoever it is that's helping to make sure you've got a great program and you've got fellowship activities and all those kind of things. If we can be tight as a club, then all those other things will work out well. So if you have a chance, download the document. I highly recommend it. Whatever your role is in the club, Be a Vibrant Club is a great high-level view. Okay. I do want to go back and take a look at a couple of other concepts that are mentioned in the club administration manual. We've covered a lot of these, but the meeting agendas, and not just the agenda, but making sure the membership knows what's coming up. Maybe they know through the events on the website. Maybe they know through the bulletins that the clubs do, but you certainly want to make sure the members know what's coming, not just for themselves, but when they're going to be inviting guests to come. Oh, we're going to have a dynamic speaker. We really want to have guests come. So getting the agenda out, making sure the membership knows what's coming is great, not just for them, but for visiting guests, potential members, things like that. This is kind of interesting. This is, at least in the manual, it talks about different types of meetings. So maybe week 1 is a regular meeting. Week 2, they're calling an after-hours meeting, which is a little bit different. Week 3 could be a working meeting. That could be like a little mini assembly. Bring a friend meeting. I mean, again, they're not saying you should split up your month into these 4 very different types of meetings. But what I like about this is that when you look at this, there's a lot of ideas in here about good, productive club meetings. So there's some interesting things in here, like going over the strategic plan. I don't know about you all, but what I hate is at the beginning of the year we develop a plan and no one knows anything about it until the end of the year. If then, when we say, here's how we did with our plan, that's the kind of thing you want to keep the club informed about. How are we doing with our goals and our strategies, and where we may need to make some changes? So these kind of things, I think, provide a lot of opportunities for how to make your meetings more effective. Think about some of these. Okay, talk about club assemblies. One other thing that is brought up here is a very special meeting is going to be the meeting with the district governor. So there's a lot of preparation for that. Again, the club administration committee or whoever is responsible for the agenda of the meeting, that's a very unique meeting, and you want to make sure that everything is lined up. Governor Tom this year mentioned in passing, and I don't know who the clubs are that he was referring to, so whether you're one of these, I don't know. They said that there were a couple of times when he came to the meeting and everyone knew he was going to be there, but they already had a different speaker in the program. So Tom shows up, he's got his spiel ready to go, but the club already had another program, so it wasn't clear that the club knew that when the district governor was going to be there, that he was the program, that he was your speaker for 20 minutes or whatever the deal is. So there's a lot of preparation that goes into that particular meeting. Just make sure that the president, the secretary, whoever is coordinating with the district governor ops person, which for Dave Anderson is going to be Fred. And so Fred will be communicating with your clubs about time and what's going to happen during the meeting, things like that. You still have your regular meeting, but having the district governor there is very special. Same thing for the board meeting. So that's another meeting where there's going to be some very specific things that this group of people is going to help coordinate.
I have a question.
Yes.
You have on here after district the training assembly. Who does that? I've never been to one of those.
You're in one.
Under the time frame, it says after district training assembly. What's the district training assembly?
Well, many districts who are not as large as us have hands-on assemblies. In fact, I think our district used to do hands-on assemblies, kind of like we do president-elect training.
Oh, okay.
And I think Doreen is planning on having some hands-on assemblies as well. But the whole notion of this, but this is our model for assemblies this year, is doing it online to get different people involved. So really the idea here is that after you've attended something like this, you go back to your club board and you talk about things that you heard or things that you learned or things that you want to consider for the upcoming year. And I have to say that's why we're doing it now, because we don't want to wait till, let's say, September to do training on club committees, because there's still time now to think about maybe slightly modifying what maybe some of the committees for next year are going to do based on things you're learning in these assemblies.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we've talked about club communications, and not just information about upcoming meetings and events, but also the birthdays, anniversaries, recognizing how many years people have been in Rotary, recognizing people who become Paul Harris Fellows and Paula Harris Society members, and all the various recognitions for the membership is a great thing to do. And again, it helps with the engagement for the club. Goals, plans, and projects. So someone had mentioned the projects. When the club is involved with a project, especially if it's a big project, there's often maybe a weekly update on the project. How's the project going? What's going to be happening? It's almost like you're managing a project in your business. We've got 6 weeks to get this done. Every week is critical. We're going to have some time we're going to have to get together outside of our meeting time to work on some of the aspects of the project. So communicating the projects is just really important. I can't emphasize that enough. Let's see. Making connections. So we've talked some about that. Having committee members take turns greeting and introducing new members, connecting with other clubs in the district, wearing name badges at meetings. I mean, again, all of this is just to kind of get people more comfortable with each other, getting to know each other, which is part of this group. Here it talks about attendance. And it says, help your secretary encourage club members to attend the meetings. The secretary is not necessarily going to be that motivational figure. But this group may be the one to say, boy, we really need to have a gangbuster program, kind of like what Donna was talking about, not just have nonprofits talk to other nonprofits, but we really need some dynamic speakers who are going to get the members really motivated to be there. And so this committee can certainly help with that. Make sure the club meetings are interesting and fun. Terminating membership, we really don't need to talk about here. Attendance reports, typically the secretary is doing that. And again, if you've got a gangbuster secretary, God bless you. If you do not have a gangbuster secretary, I'm sorry. But you really want to make sure that the reports get sent in on time and that the district is not missing information that they need from you all. So we're kind of at the end of this manual. We've got about 5 minutes left. Kind of in a nutshell to me, club administration is at its core everything that the club is doing for its own. So for those of you who know me, I don't get involved in a lot of service projects. And it's not that I don't appreciate their importance. That's just not my passion. My passion is to serve the membership. So as a district trainer, my job is to serve Rotarians in District 5520. So that's my job. Others in the club and others in the district love to do the international projects and the service projects and the friendship exchange and all these other wonderful things. But there's people like me who focus on serving the membership. And the club administration committee, more so than any other group of people in your club, has a similar thought. Their job is to serve the membership. Make sure the meetings are great. Make sure we've got great fellowship. Make sure we've got opportunities to get to know each other and bond and be tight and engaged. Because if that's what we are, then it's going to benefit everyone else we serve. So, kind of a high-level view. Let me stop sharing since we're done looking at that. So any thoughts, questions, other ideas, your own experiences before we close the meeting?
Yes,
Jeff, the one thing that I'd like to say is that these training sessions that we're attending, the YouTube, I think, is a great idea because so many of our members still work. And having the availability and the access in their own home to just refresh themselves or whatever is just a great thing, I think. Trying to get 40 or 50 people to the Rio Grande Academy, you know, or 5 or 10, it's difficult for the weekends and so on. So I'm definitely an advocate for this Zoom process you're going through, but also the fact now that they'll be available on YouTube. And I thank you for your time and your efforts.
There was another question I thought I heard.
Yeah. Jeff, thank you for being very honest about how you wanted to serve the membership and not, your passion was not doing the service project. And I think that's something that has been kind of difficult for a lot of people to understand and recognize. And that makes me feel a little bit better because I'm kind of like you, Jeffrey. I kind of want to do the membership and serve them, but I'm not real passionate about service projects. And I think sometimes we get all these people on all these committees, but they don't do anything. You know what I mean? So we need to kind of thank you for trying to encourage us and incite us with these ideas and help us to go forward. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jeffrey, for doing this.
Thank you. And I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. Let's see. Got a chat. Wow. Best training ever. Lots of ideas in just an hour.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And by the way, the feedback that we've already gotten from the grants management training that we did earlier this month and the other assemblies, we've already been incorporating your feedback to improve this one and the ones that come after it. So when you get the survey tomorrow, we need the good, the bad, how we can do better. So your open and honest feedback is critical.
Okay, Jeff, I have a question.
Yes.
I had signed up for the session after this. Do I stay on or do I need to log off and log back?
You can stay on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, anyone who's going to be with public relations can stay on. You can mute, but we will be back in 15 minutes. Before we close, any other final questions, thoughts, ideas?
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you all very much. Have a great rest of your Saturday. And for PR, we will start at 10:15 Central Mountain Time. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.